Hey everybody, welcome back to the Ultimate World Music Reaction Channel. It's your girl Rosalie, and I got something special for you today. I want to introduce to you a new up-and-coming artist. I want to bring some spotlight to the amazing art that is out in this world. An artist from New Zealand, Auckland, New Zealand, G33, born as Niels Hurd, but goes by G33. When I read his bio, I was pretty amazed because this artist has been through quite some stuff. Grew up often just on the south side of the law. Father a dealer, mom an addict. When his uncle, his mother's brother, was murdered, mom took off to Australia, and Niels was only 2 years old. And he grew up partying, heavily influenced by music like Eminem, Dr. Dre, Snoop Dogg, DMX, and lost a lot of friends, I think around 15 along the way, burying a lot of his friends. And kind of that motto, he was quoted to say, we didn't give an F if we lived or died. So we're talking rough life, really experiencing trauma. And then later on in life had surgery now that allows him to stand with 6 titanium bolts in his body. Kind of reading a story made me think of, I am titanium, you shoot me down, but I won't fall. I am titanium. Right? Like really just, you're not going to bring me down. This guy does not give up. And it's amazing. He loves his family. I think he's a dad to 3. And he has a gift for writing and poetry. And whenever he put that with music, it came out as rap. He's been putting his mark into the world, has been featured with different artists, and released a song called Lab Rat. I believe it was in 2022. And that's what I want to check out with you today. His song, Lab Rat. He's working on multiple releases for this year. And I want to check out his song, Lab Rat. When I asked him, what do I need to know about this song? He explained that a lot of his videos are more cinematic, so not just a music video. And this particular song, Lab Rat, I think from what I understand is meant to deal with what people were going through in New Zealand, Australia, and around the world when it came to mandates, when it came to all that division that was occurring during the pandemic, and the people who fought and died for freedom and for human rights. And so from what I understand, the song is meant to talk about that, to deal with it. But I don't know what it sounds like. I have no idea. I'm intrigued by this artist. I wanted to bring him to you. So make sure to subscribe to his channel. All the links below. I'll put it in the description. I'll pin it in the comment and check it out here. Make sure to subscribe and support these artists. Make sure to subscribe to this channel. Let's grow together. Let's bring the world amazing music. But today we're headed to New Zealand. Are you ready? All right, are you ready? Here we go. This first image already looks really dope. That view from the sky, from the aerial view. Here we go. You ready?
So you say I never listen. Should've been watching what I'm sticking it in. She go hide behind her French kissy, true color shade of gray. Love the bitches. Only learned the hard way. I'm a badass. Load the mag and put the clip in. A sad act. Got no sentimental wishes. I'm a lab rat. Get the vaccination issue. This a fact, boy. Better tuck your bottom lip and that's a fat stack. Ain't nobody touch my money. You can't have that. You been acting kinda funny. That's a fat ass. Been away for a minute. I'm home now. What it seems in the case. Hold on to all the treasured memories like birthdays. Now I'm drinking, hit the terps late. Blessed in that cursed way. Give a fuck about a birthday. Over the years pretend to care. Everyone been living in fear. From my vein, one blood stain. Somebody told me the end is near. Okay.
You fucking kidding?
What did I say?
You fucking idiot.
Someone to blame.
It's always me.
So it's the same. Can't you see it? So you say I never listen. Should've been watching what I'm sticking in. She go hide behind her French kissing. True color shaded gray. Love the bitches. Learn a lot from the streets. Follow the white rabbit. Keep packing heat. Pop a bottle, let it leak. I got the knowledge if you're coming down here.
Okay, there's elements here. The beat is pretty neat. The beat is pretty cool. And there's different effects here even that he's doing vocally with that distortion, almost sounding creepy, evil, really muffled, hard to make out what he's saying. I can see elements here that we often find in rap and hip hop when it comes to the music industry, certain references to money, to guns, to, certain cuss words that are used. And personally, I don't listen to that. I prefer staying away from that because this, doesn't lift my spirit. It's not my type of music. But I can tell here that there's a level of heaviness psychologically, and you guys know that's what we're about. There's a level of heaviness here because of what he's been through. Not only is he talking about these issues when it comes to the vaccination and the pressure and medication and money, but it sounds like he was personally affected by this and even shared some of that, right? Losing people and people whose lives were lost trying to fight for freedom. So there's definitely, which often is the case when we're talking music and personal art, when we write songs and poetry and we create, be it music, be it art, we'll do so a lot of times to put ourselves and our experiences into it, right? Sometimes we might write on behalf of others, songs that are about somebody else's experience. Sometimes they are our own. But psychologically speaking, it's a way to process what we've been through. And everyone's different, right? Some people do that through classical music, others do it through art, others do it through volunteering and humanitarian work. And then even within the field of music, it will manifest in different genres, right? There's some who can express themselves best with passionate compositions with the piano and the violin. Others, they will need a hard beat and they will be able to just have to rap about it, write about it, and sometimes even use certain cuss words to as a form of it's cathartic, to vent that frustration, to talk about these heavy things, to communicate the anger, the hurt. We'll talk about the lyrics after. I think some of it's already pretty clear. So you say I never listen. And I think even how he's rapping, there's elements of melody here. It's melodic, and I kind of like that. So you say I never listen should have been watching what I'm sticking in it. She gonna hide behind her friend's kissing, true color shade of gray. Interesting because it was showing her lips bright red, but it says in the lyrics, true color shade of gray. Maybe that play on Shades of Grey, those movies and novel series, but perhaps this idea of hiding behind that kiss, hiding behind that red lipstick, but actually it's a shade of gray. So it's a facade saying I should have been watching what I'm sticking it in, which could be a sexual reference because it talks about sexuality. It talks about French kissing, and it could be in regards to who I engaged with, but it could also be a reference to the lab rat, right? These things that were going on during the pandemic, the vaccination and the needles that people were sticking into themselves. What I found interesting, and I know there's various opinions, we're not going to go into too much detail about who thinks what in regards to the pandemic, the vaccination. I don't want to turn this into an expository essay where we're going to look at all the facts on each side. But I do think there is validity to the part that speaks about it being a lot about fear. It said something, I'm trying to find it right now, holding on to memories and fear. Everyone been living in fear. From my vein, one blood stain. Interesting too, because you have that one blood stain a lot of times when you get injected with something and you have some type of vaccination, you get poked by a needle. Medicine flowing through our body, through our veins. Life is in the blood, in our veins. People losing their lives, right? Talking about memories of birthdays. Now I'm drinking, hit the terps late. Interesting rhymes. Birthdays, late. Talking about memories, right? A lot of things that people were losing, missing out on because they were in isolation, because they were told to be alone. A lot of fear that was being fueled. And I can see people being hurt not only in that season but even after. And though it seems like we've made it through it for the most part, there is still trauma and things that people are recovering from, especially those who've lost someone close to them. That's not something that ends when the pandemic ends or when masks are no longer mandatory. We'll talk about some more of the lyrics in a moment. The beat is catchy, and I find those elements that they're using in the movie clip, in the video clip, as well as in the voice effects, I feel like that gives it some dynamics.
Everyone knows she a bad bitch. Whip is some cash. Living lavish. Clip with the stash. Got tactics safe in the trunk. Gon' crack it.
I feel like that's also a good hook. Right? Is like this very not quite carousel vibe, even though there's elements of that when you're on a carousel and you hear those child play melodies of going in a circle, right? That's kind of what also the pandemic and some of that stuff, all these, hot topics feel like to some people, going in circles, being stuck in a rut. Now the scene of the grave and the flower. It's a lot of life and death here. The virus, the image of that on a molecular level, the vaccine. And it's interesting because when it comes to hip hop and rap, and oftentimes references of guns and kissing and sex and alcohol being used in that scene, he's using it here, but he's not talking about, sticking it in the wrong place, but actually referring to vaccination and needles. So almost using that like a double meaning, double entendre there.
So you say I never listen. Should've been watching what I'm sticking it in. She go out behind her, French kissing. True color, shade of gray, love the bitches. Said I learned the hard way, kinda badass. Load the mag and put the clip in, sad ass. Fuck these sentimental wishes, I'm a lab rat. Get the vaccination issue, that's a fact, boy. Better tuck your bottom lip and that's a fat stack. Ain't nobody touch my money, you can have that. You been acting kinda funny, that's a fat ass. Been away for a minute, I'm home now. I'm home now. I'm home now. I'm home now. I'm home now.
That was well done. Ding, 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 ding. Almost like that bell sound going in sync with the lights of the siren. I don't know who he shot, right? And now he's saying, I'm home now as he walks back into the house through the doors. And now the officer lights, the cop lights show up. Not sure if that shooting is a reference to, trying to fight back. Who's being killed here, right? Maybe a reference to the people that were killed, that lost their lives in the pandemic, the people that were killed through injections and through vaccinations, and people that experience side effects and loss of certain freedoms. Is their death what's being symbolized here with that gun firing in the end? Is it him and those fighting against it, right? Soldiers and various people who fought for the freedom and human rights. Is that the shot? Is this a shot of revenge, right? There's different ways to interpret that, which is pretty well done and makes for good songwriting and for good production. Like I said, I don't usually listen to rap with cussing. I like avoiding featuring that, and I don't listen to it on my own time, especially when there's references to, snitches and all that stuff. And I think, however, that these references here are being used to use that hip hop typical, rap typical lingo, but with the other message. It's not really about sex. It's not really about a male-female relationship. Saying things like, so you say I never listen, right? That might be something that a woman often would say to a man, stereotypically, right? Talking about that French kiss, true color shade of gray, love, the snitches, learn the hard way, and then talking about a fad, AA. And so it's stuff like that where that's typical to me in certain rap. Again, not rap that I listen to. I like avoiding that. It doesn't lift me up. But what I liked here is that there was, even though I could have done without that, I see that there was more deeper things were meant here. It was not truly ultimately about the female and that stuff. Pretend to care. Everyone been living in fear. Somebody told me the end is near. Am I okay? Also interesting, because during that whole pandemic, that was a big theme, especially in religious groups. The end is near. The end times. Am I okay? Are you effing kidding? What did I say? You effing idiot. And there's that dialogue almost with himself, I think. And that was interesting too, right? That internal battle, like we see with some other artists, like Ren and those, where you see there's this display of that internal turmoil and struggle. Want someone to blame? It's always me. It's always the same. Can't you see it? So you say I never listened, should have been watching what I'm sticking it in. She gonna hide behind her French kissing, and then it tags and repeats. Learn a lot from the streets. Follow the white rabbit. Keep packing heat. Packing heat, reference to guns, right? Which we saw in the movie and the video clip. And learning from the streets, I feel like that's personal for him because he has had a rough life and upbringing. But then we also see when it comes to, that type of a crowd that's been struggling, that's been hurting, that's being affected by those regulations and the injustices and losing people, right? That's experience from the streets. It's not somewhere safe with the elite. It's on the street, the hard life, the pain, the suffering. Everyone knows she's a bad itch, whipping some cash, living lavish. Clip with that stash, got tactics, safe in the trunk, gon' crack it. And so I feel like this personalization or this reference, again, as we would see often with hip hop, is not really talking about some bad itch. It's about perhaps the government. Maybe this is a reference to that small group of people trying to control the rest, the people that were fear mongering, that were using that to cause division. And again, we're not going to go into detail between the pros and the cons and who was right and who was wrong, but people were hurting on all sides of the spectrum. And even now, as the years go by, there's trauma, there's loss, there's grief, right? The people that are gone are not coming back. And for those who are left behind, they have a lot to deal with. And one of that, some of that could be the loss through the illness. Some of that could be effects through the medication. And that comes with, which is one of the stages of grief, trying to negotiate, trying to understand what happened here, the regret, the feelings of, I shouldn't have done this. I should have been more careful. I should have asked more questions. Right? Even the idea of, so you say, I never listen. Is this an idea to, is this a level of somebody else saying, you don't listen, do what I say, take the vaccine, follow the masses? Is this himself saying, I should have listened, I should have asked questions, I should have not just agreed and succumbed to the fear mongering? You can interpret it in different ways, which makes it interesting. Keep packing heat, pop a bottle, let it leak. I got the knowledge if you coming down here, right? So maybe saying, I'm going to tell you some things. We're gonna crack that trunk. We're gonna start being real here. Maybe that bad itch being, like I said, those who were fear mongering and trying to control. Then it goes back to the chorus at one point. Like, I'm home now. He's been away. A reference to, I'm awake now. I'm back. I'm done with this fear mongering and the mind games. Could be a shout out to those who've passed on, who are home now. Various ways to interpret that, and it helped to know a little bit of a backstory for what he was sharing, what the artist G33 was sharing. But what did you think? Let me know in the comments below. And if you want to see more of his work, more of his hip hop, check out and subscribe. I think it was interesting. I think it was interesting and courageous to tackle some of those hot topics and debates. Like I said, I can do without the cussing and those references. That's not the type of hip hop that I listen to, but the beat was dope. And there was melodic elements to his rap style, which made it interesting to see what was going to happen. What did you think? Let me know in the comments below. As always, like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next ride. Ayo!